that I was wrong. In fact, I may have even caught myself being somewhat deluded when it comes to vibe coding. So let me just explain, right? Let me just explain. So in the last video, we pulled up orchids. We thought we'd give orchids a shot. We'll check it out, and I had an idea. I had my idea of drip wizard, right? And I've been playing around a little bit with it. I found the API tokens or the API codes for these kind of like AI generation tools. Because if you didn't see the last video, check out in the description. You can watch that and you can see what we were up to. But with Drip Wizard, right, we were gonna manipulate the images that someone uploaded, and essentially we were gonna upload an image like so. Is me looking like I just stumbled out of the 1950s, and we wanted to create this app basically where we would upload an image. We'd ask the Drip Wizard to analyze the outfit, give us some fashion tips, and to try a new outfit. To harness the power of the generative AI gods to basically take the image and manipulate it and and recreate the image of me with a brand new outfit. And the idea itself, I mean it's quite a cool idea. I like the idea of basically getting like a real-time fashion kind of like a consultant kind of thing. And it seemed cool. We added the API tokens, and I kind of understood a little bit about that, and it was saying that basically there's two API tokens for image generators that you need to add, and then if they don't work, it'll fall back onto like an unsplash like stock image. And basically, like, I've been troubleshooting it for a little while. I've been tweaking it, and yeah, it's got to the point where I can't figure it out. I can't get my head around it. But it was good whilst I tried, and obviously I was still willing to try and troubleshoot it a bit more. But we got to the point now where I've probably spent another half hour, an hour on troubleshooting this, and we've got to upgrade if we want to carry on using this tool. And $25 is fine, we can pay that. But this isn't the first time I've played around with these tools, so we'll fly over to Replit, whatever you want to call it, right? And this, quite a few, 3 months ago, it says it, 3 months ago I had an idea, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could create kind of like a user-generated content marketplace, essentially, where brands would submit that they've got like a product launch or a shop opening or restaurant open, and they always kind of pin it on the map, right? And then it was like crowdsourced UGC content. Basically, if you're a creator, you'd sign up to the platform, you'd put your kind of social handles in, get verified, and then that would mean you'd be able to accept these gigs if you're a specific if you've got a specific number of followers or you're a specific niche. Then you can then apply for specific jobs, etc., etc. I was really sold on this idea, and I was thinking about it. I didn't spend too much time on it, a few days maybe, but I bought a domain and stuff, and like obviously paid for the Replit subscription and things. And this was even the landing page. This is really quite cool, and this was the idea. This is great, and the concept itself is there. There's a proof, there's a concept there. But is it functionable? I mean, the last time I used it 3 months ago, I couldn't get it to function. I couldn't get it to function. And I know it's asking me to go incognito to try out and stuff, but essentially it was almost just like a wireframe of like a dashboard for a user, but it didn't really have any functionality. It had like placeholder kind of a profile in there, and it was no customizability. And I imagine that means that the database didn't work and stuff. And so here we go. We've got the business dashboard kind of thing, and this was how I visioned it. I thought it was quite a cool idea. You got a task map. So on this one, you click here, yeah, come over. You got to have 1,000 followers, and we'll pay you, this much per task. Come or whatever. Beauty product unboxing video. So like this brand would want you to come if you got 2,000 followers. You can come and sign up to the task. Crazy amount of money. I doubt it'd be that expensive. But that was the idea, right? But I just couldn't get it to work and stuff. And I think after doing a bit more research, I already see there's already kind of like crowdsourced UGC like marketplace like apps that already exist like this. So, but the main principle is I wasted some time on this, a little bit of time. You might be someone in a position where you can create something like this, and you have a network of individuals that have developed apps, and you have the connections to turn something like this into life. And this might suit as a good MVP for you. But for me, I wanted to build this, and I wanted to this to be my own kind of baby, really. And like, this is like a product I wanted to create for myself. But it doesn't matter how much I prompt it if I can't understand what is actually being created underneath the GUI, right? So after doing some kind of research and trying to figure this stuff out, what I've learned is that coding and programming are not the same thing. So coding is the skill of essentially typing in code that has like a logic, and you essentially translating that code or the logic to become instructions for a software. That's what coding is. And obviously LLMs, looking at this, looking at, orchids, things like this. LLMs are basically making that skill obsolete, right? But programming is more of the actual science, and you're like the scientist combining the elements, and you're creating the finished product that has functionality, it has security, it has a back end, has a database, has monetization, has integration, all that stuff that I personally don't understand too much myself. That's not my primary skill set. So essentially, if you don't really understand the code that is being produced when you are vibe coding, thanks to the LLM, and you don't understand it like a real programmer, then you might find you're in for some problems in the long run, at least anyway. So I've seen some vibe code developers, some entrepreneurs, they've kind of put money into these sort of things, and they've done a lot more digging and have put a lot more work into their product than I have. And when they've gone to market with these products where they've not understood it as a developer, and they don't have years and years of experience in building applications and software like this, what they have vibe coded has actually gone to market with big vulnerabilities. You've had people kind of bypassing subscriptions, abusing the API token limits, and these API token limits, they're not cheap, So you combine that with the costs of using the vibe coding tool to build it, using the token limits on the vibe coding tool, then the API tokens when you go to market with it, and then you've got people, basically you're just abusing what you've created, burning through your API tokens, costing you a fortune, costing you money. Maybe you might get like a GDPR breach, you might lose people's personal details, and it's because you've not understood fundamentally the whole kind of like science behind the process. Like if you were a scientist and you started mixing up chemicals in the science lab, like you're going to blow yourself up, right? And it's dependent on how much you understand about programming and app development and the time that you got to invest into these kind of things. Sometimes you've got to sort of take a step back and really consider from a realistic perspective, right? Otherwise it could get nasty quite quick. So you might even take your kind of idea and like, this is your escape plan and stuff, and put all this work, put all this money, put all this time into something without completely really understanding it, without really developing many skills in the process of doing it, at least not when it comes to the development side of things. You might still get some benefits out of it, but in the long run you might actually end up in a position where you're less well off financially and mentally. So let's cut to the chase really. What am I really saying? Like I said, we got to think about it realistically, right? So if you have zero coding or programming skills and you have access to these vibe coding tools, you've got to remember these tools, they are available to people that do have coding and program skills and a lot of skill in those areas, right? So you're both leveraging these tools, and who is at the more of the advantage? Are you really going to change the world? I'm not trying to sound doomer, kind of like shoot anyone down. The main thing is I just don't want you to waste your time, especially as, these tools are quite complicated for a normie to figure out with zero coding or programming experience. Good news though is obviously if you're watching this, we're very early, and over time these tools are going to become more advanced and a lot more accessible just to your normie kind of digital entrepreneur. So I wouldn't forget about this space completely, but in the meantime, personally, and this is what I recommend, is you focus on what you know or look into some other kind of contemporary digital business models, because let's be honest, in my opinion, brick and mortar businesses have a lot of downsides and are generally quite saturated, right? Most brick and mortar businesses already exist, but if you're thinking you literally don't know anything, right, then watch some Gary Vaynerchuk for some inspiration. The dude even says that recently. He said that he visions there being a 100k revenue business where someone's literally advertising themselves as a walking buddy. I'm sure even if you do all days just play Call of Duty, you're like 10th prestige or whatever, the skill and time that you've developed and put into playing Call of Duty definitely more achievable to monetize this skill, or at least just turn that into a lifestyle business, like as a streamer or something. Now, jokes aside though, if you can garner attention in something, be that video games, nutrition, fashion, collectibles, gardening, coffee making, football, crypto, and then put your own like authentic spin on it, whilst you create the foundation for monetizing this with a community or a challenge or a product, then you can definitely, for one, build like a lifestyle business around what you love to do, and then two, also leverage and become part of the creator economy. So definitely let me know if you want to learn anything more about getting started with kind of some of these alternative methods of digital business that you can take advantage of as we enter and live through the fourth industrial revolution. But yeah, just know in its current state, in my opinion, vibe coding tools like Bolt, Replit, Orchids, they're being leveraged by some incredibly talented geeks, right? And I absolutely 100% take my peasant hat off to them. But have you had luck with these tools? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think, because maybe I just missed something. Until next time, stay tuned for the next video.